Yes, it is code compliant to use SPT cable in 3/8-inch flexible metal conduit, abbreviated FMC, to feed low voltage under-cabinet lights. The National Electrical Code, abbreviated NEC, allows the use of SPT cable in FMC in certain applications, including for low voltage lighting. The NEC requires that the SPT cable be properly secured within the FMC and that the FMC be properly installed and supported. SPT cable is a type of flexible cord that is commonly used for low voltage applications, such as powering under-cabinet lights. FMC is a type of flexible metal conduit that is used to protect electrical wires and cables from damage. When using SPT cable in FMC, it is important to ensure that the cable is properly sized for the load and that the FMC is properly grounded. The specific section of the NEC that permits the use of SPT cable in FMC is found in section 400.8. It is titled Flexible Cords and Cables. Flexible cords and cables shall be used only for the following. In section 400.8, for it mentions pendants or portable luminaires. Pendants or portable luminaires with permanently attached cords are permitted for flexible cords and cables. SPT cable is a type of flexible cord that is permitted for use in pendants or portable luminaires. FMC is a type of flexible metal conduit that is permitted for use in protecting flexible cords and cables. Therefore, the use of SPT cable in FMC to feed low voltage under-cabinet lights is code compliant. Now, let's delve deeper into the NEC requirements and best practices for using SPT cable within FMC for low voltage under-cabinet lighting. We need to consider several factors to ensure code compliance and safe operation. Firstly, understanding SPT cable itself is crucial. SPT, which stands for Service Parallel Thermoplastic, refers to a type of flexible cord commonly used for low voltage applications. It typically consists of two insulated conductors laid parallel to each other and encased in a thermoplastic jacket. The gauge of the SPT cable, referring to its wire size, must be appropriate for the current draw of the under-cabinet lights it will be powering. Using a cable that is too small can lead to overheating and potentially a fire hazard. Consult the lighting manufacturer's specifications to determine the appropriate cable size. Secondly, FMC, or flexible metal conduit, provides a protective raceway for the SPT cable. It shields the cable from physical damage and helps prevent electrical shock hazards. The 3/8-inch size is a common dimension for these types of applications. When installing FMC, ensure that it is properly secured and supported according to NEC guidelines. This prevents strain on the connections and ensures the conduit remains intact over time. The NEC specifies the maximum distances between supports for FMC, which vary depending on the size and type of conduit. Thirdly, grounding is a critical aspect of any electrical installation, and the use of SPT cable in FMC is no exception. The FMC itself must be properly grounded to provide a path for fault current in the event of a short circuit. This grounding can be achieved by connecting the FMC to a grounded metal box or enclosure. The SPT cable, if it contains a grounding conductor, should also be connected to the grounding system at both ends of the run. Fourthly, let's address the NEC requirements more specifically. As mentioned earlier, Section 400.8 of the NEC governs the use of flexible cords and cables. While it primarily addresses pendants and portable luminaires, the underlying principle is that flexible cords can be used in locations where flexibility is required and the cord is protected from physical damage. When using SPT cable in FMC, the conduit provides this protection, making the installation code compliant. However, it's important to note that the NEC also requires that the flexible cord be securely supported and not subject to excessive strain. This is where proper installation of the FMC becomes critical. Fifthly, consider the ampacity of the SPT cable. Ampacity refers to the current carrying capacity of a conductor. The NEC provides tables that list the ampacity of various types of conductors based on their size, insulation type, and installation conditions. When selecting SPT cable for your under-cabinet lighting project, ensure that its ampacity is sufficient to handle the total current draw of the lights. It's always a good idea to choose a cable with a slightly higher ampacity than required to provide a margin of safety. Sixthly, pay attention to the temperature rating of both the SPT cable and the FMC. The NEC specifies temperature ratings for various types of electrical equipment and wiring. Ensure that the components you are using are suitable for the ambient temperature of the installation location. If the under-cabinet lights generate a significant amount of heat, you may need to choose components with a higher temperature rating. Seventhly, when making connections to the SPT cable, use appropriately sized and listed connectors. These connectors should be designed for use with flexible cords and should provide a secure and reliable connection. Avoid using wire nuts or other types of connectors that are not specifically designed for flexible cords, as these can loosen over time and create a safety hazard. Eighthly, be mindful of the fill capacity of the FMC. The NEC limits the number of conductors that can be installed in a conduit based on the conduit size and the conductor's dimensions. Overfilling a conduit can make it difficult to pull wires through and can also lead to overheating. Consult the NEC tables to determine the maximum number of SPT cables that can be installed in a 3/8-inch FMC. Ninthly, consider the overall appearance and aesthetics of the installation. While code compliance is paramount, it's also important to create a clean and professional-looking installation. Neatly route the FMC and SPT cable, and use appropriate fittings and connectors to conceal the wiring. This will not only improve the appearance of the installation but also make it easier to maintain and troubleshoot in the future. Tenthly, remember to consult with a qualified electrician if you have any doubts or questions about the installation. Electrical work can be dangerous, and it's always best to err on the side of caution. A qualified electrician can ensure that the installation is code compliant and safe. Now, let's talk about the advantages of using SPT cable in FMC compared to other wiring methods such as an solid cable. Firstly, flexibility is a major advantage. SPT cable is highly flexible, making it easier to route through tight spaces and around obstacles. This is particularly useful for under-cabinet lighting installations, where space is often limited. Secondly, protection is enhanced. FMC provides a robust layer of protection for the SPT cable, shielding it from physical damage and environmental factors. This is especially important in areas where the wiring is exposed or subject to potential abuse. Thirdly, ease of installation can be a factor. While installing FMC requires some skill and experience, it can be a faster and more efficient wiring method than using an solid cable in certain situations. The flexibility of the SPT cable and the ability to pre-assemble the conduit runs can save time and effort. Fourthly, compliance with building codes is ensured. When installed correctly, SPT cable in FMC meets the requirements of the NEC and other relevant building codes. This can help to avoid costly delays and ensure that the installation is approved by inspectors. Fifthly, it offers a professional appearance. When properly installed, SPT cable in FMC can create a clean and professional-looking installation. This is particularly important in high-end homes or commercial settings where aesthetics are a concern. Now, let's address some potential disadvantages of using SPT cable in FMC. Firstly, cost can be a factor. SPT cable and FMC may be more expensive than other wiring methods such as an solid cable. This is especially true if you need to purchase specialized tools or hire a qualified electrician to install the conduit. Secondly, installation complexity can be a challenge. Installing FMC requires some skill and experience, and it can be more time-consuming than simply running an solid cable. This is particularly true if you need to bend or cut the conduit to fit the installation. Thirdly, space constraints can be a limitation. While SPT cable and FMC are relatively compact, they may not be suitable for extremely tight spaces. In these situations, other wiring methods may be more appropriate. Fourthly, potential for corrosion can be a concern. FMC is typically made of steel or aluminum, which can corrode over time if exposed to moisture or harsh chemicals. This is especially true in coastal areas or industrial environments. Fifthly, maintenance requirements should be noted. FMC may require periodic maintenance to ensure that it remains in good condition. This may include inspecting the conduit for corrosion, tightening connections, and replacing damaged sections. Finally, let's summarize the key points to remember when using SPT cable in FMC for low-voltage under-cabinet lighting. Firstly, ensure that the SPT cable is properly sized for the load and that the FMC is properly grounded. Secondly, follow the NEC guidelines for installing and supporting the FMC. Thirdly, use appropriately sized and listed connectors for making connections to the SPT cable. Fourthly, be mindful of the fill capacity of the FMC. Fifthly, consult with a qualified electrician if you have any doubts or questions about the installation. By following these guidelines, you can ensure that your under-cabinet lighting installation is code compliant, safe, and reliable. Remember that the information provided here is for general guidance only, and it is essential to consult the latest edition of the NEC and any local building codes that may apply. In addition, always prioritize safety when working with electricity, and never attempt any electrical work that you are not qualified to perform. Let's discuss some specific scenarios where using SPT cable in FMC might be particularly advantageous. Firstly, in kitchens and bathrooms, where moisture is present, the protection afforded by FMC can be especially valuable. Secondly, in workshops and garages, where the wiring may be exposed to physical damage, FMC can provide an extra layer of protection. Thirdly, in commercial settings, where aesthetics are important, the neat and professional appearance of SPT cable and FMC can be a plus. Fourthly, in older homes, where the existing wiring may be outdated or damaged, SPT cable and FMC can be a good way to upgrade the electrical system. Fifthly, in new construction, where you have the opportunity to plan the wiring layout from scratch, SPT cable and FMC can be a cost-effective and efficient wiring method. Now, let's consider some alternative wiring methods that you might use instead of SPT cable in FMC. Firstly, NM cable, also known as non-metallic sheath cable or Romex, is a common wiring method for residential applications. NM cable is relatively inexpensive and easy to install, but it is not as durable or flexible as SPT cable and FMC. Secondly, MC cable, also known as metal-clad cable, is another option. MC cable consists of insulated conductors encased in a flexible metal jacket. MC cable is more durable than NM cable, but less flexible than SPT cable and FMC. Thirdly, EMT conduit, also known as electrical metallic tubing, is a rigid metal conduit that provides excellent protection for electrical wiring. EMT conduit is more expensive and difficult to install than SPT cable and FMC, but it is very durable and can be used in a wide range of applications. Fourthly, liquid-tight flexible metal conduit, abbreviated as LFMC, is a type of flexible metal conduit that is designed to be watertight. LFMC is a good choice for wet or damp locations, but it is more expensive than standard FMC. Fifthly, surface-mounted wiring is an option in some cases. Surface-mounted wiring involves running the wires along the surface of the wall or ceiling, rather than concealing them inside the wall. Surface-mounted wiring is relatively easy to install, but it is not as aesthetically pleasing as concealed wiring. When choosing a wiring method, it's important to consider the specific requirements of the application, the budget, and the level of skill and experience of the installer. Finally, remember that electrical codes and regulations can vary depending on the location. Always check with the local building department or a qualified electrician to ensure that your wiring installation meets all applicable requirements. In summary, using SPT cable and FMC for low-voltage under-cabinet lighting can be a code-compliant and effective wiring method when installed correctly. By following the NEC guidelines and best practices, you can create a safe, reliable, and aesthetically pleasing lighting installation.